Hey everyone, Dr. Skipper here. You see, it's funny because I'm using a realistic version of my character. But no, I'm not actually Dr. Skipper. I'm just some retard recording a retarded video in a cramped part of his cramped closet. And today, instead of looking at stupid tweets, we're gonna be comparing Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5. So let's just start. The stories between both of the games are pretty similar. In both, you play as a criminal who robs people and places. And in Red Dead 2, it's almost entirely action missions up until the end of the game. At the end of the game, you become a farmer, and that's where most of the peaceful missions are. Until people attack the farm and the action starts again. But in GTA, there are a lot of missions where you're just driving or walking around. I prefer the very action-packed missions of Red Dead Redemption 2, over GTA having more peaceful missions. And also in GTA, you walk really slowly, which makes the peaceful missions where you're walking around insanely annoying. And after the story in Red Dead 2, you can still do a couple things such as bounty hunting and farm work, and the side missions if you haven't already done them. And in GTA, there's not much else to do after the story either. All you can do is play side missions that you haven't played yet, or spend your money. Anyway, let's move on to the online version of the games. In both GTA and Red Dead 2, the online is extremely grindy and not fun a lot of the times, unless you're playing with your friend. I prefer the different things you can do in Red Dead Online, such as bounty hunting, but you still need to grind a lot to be able to bounty hunt, because a bounty hunter's license costs 15 gold, and Red Dead Online has 2 currencies like it's a mobile game. But in GTA, there's only 1 currency you need to grind for, which makes it less grindy. And in GTA Online, there's 4 main heists you can do, as long as you have a good enough house to do them, and there's also a bunch of other side heists that you're able to do. Red Dead Online only has 1 storyline, which earns you a decent amount of gold and money, but once you replay it, you don't earn that much gold or money. But in GTA Online, every time you replay the heists, you'll earn the same amount of money. In both games, there are PvP modes you can play to earn some money. There are only a couple of these games to play in Red Dead Online, but there's a lot of them to play in GTA. The ones in GTA are a lot more fun because of the different varieties of them. But both onlines are just grindy messes that can be fun sometimes. Let's move on to the combat of the games. The combat between both games is quite different. I prefer the combat in Red Dead 2 because you can punch, grab, lasso, shoot, use explosives, use throwing knives and axes, and choke when you're playing story mode. But in GTA, you can only punch, shoot, use explosives, and stab. Very little options compared to Red Dead Redemption 2. But Red Dead 2's combat also has its flaws, because most of the time, you'll be only using your guns or lasso. The missions in the story don't really let you use all these extra combat methods. And the only time you'll be using something that isn't a gun to kill someone is when you're free roaming. This isn't a problem for GTA though, because GTA gives you such a small amount of combat options. But when you have a game like Red Dead 2 that has all these different combat options, all or most of them should be used during the story. Doug said something similar in his video where he compared Breath of the Wild to Red Dead 2. And he's right. When they thought of making these combat methods for Red Dead 2, they should have implemented them into the story. And also, when you attack someone in GTA, they'll most likely run away, but when you do it in Red Dead 2, they'll fight back most of the time. Alright, let's move on to the setting of the games. Red Dead 2 takes place in the Wild West, and GTA takes place in a city. Red Dead 2 has more diverse areas, like a snowy place, a desert, grassy land, a swamp, a city, and the game has a lot of small towns as well. And during the story, you go to a country in the Caribbean if you want to count that as well. But GTA is just one large city, a few small cities, and some mountains. In GTA, you'll always find people doing something wherever you go. Except for when you're in the small amounts of wilderness, of course. But in Red Dead 2, when you're traveling and not inside a town, you won't see that many people. There is a lot of wilderness in Red Dead 2, so obviously it makes sense that you wouldn't see that many people when you're outside of a town. I prefer how GTA has a large population and you'll always find people, which is ironic because I like to spend a lot of my time by myself, but I prefer the scenery of Red Dead 2. I like both settings of the games. I prefer to see the pedestrians that are in GTA, but I also love the scenery of Red Dead 2. Both of these games are fantastic, and I love them both. Red Dead 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. And if you enjoyed this video, then you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want. The transition slides in this video were made by Explicit, and the music was made by Rusty Cage and Ever Alexander. I also have a Discord server that you can join. The link will be in the description. I'll see you all in the next video.